Welcome to Your Mind is Trying to Kill You podcast. Join your host, Alexandros and co-host Vincent Byrne as they walk you through the deepest recesses of the mind and how it operates. They discuss all the reasons why our minds persistently get in the way of our evolution, growth, and our success. But crucially, they also teach you what you can do to change your destiny. And now, here's your host, Alexandros.
Hello and welcome to the 12th episode of Your Mind is Trying to Kill You podcast. I'm your host, Alexandros Megas.
And I'm your co-host, Vincent Byrne.
And in today's episode, we are battling a specific topic that has been coming up again and again in my life, and I think everyone's life. Over the course of our lifetimes, we get to question that part of our lives that is really, according to everyone's perception, a pain in the ass. And what is that, my friend Vincent?
Problems. Yeah. Certainly before I started learning about this, and now laterally in dealing with people, clients who come for coaching, one of the things they'll talk about, either in direct terms or in roundabout terms, the fact that they have problems with their business or in their life, and they'd like to be rid of their problems. And that's the goal. And unfortunately, coming with that particular perspective, it's, in my experience, it's completely irrational and unrealistic to expect to be able to not have any problems. And that's generally where I start from and then take them into the benefits of problems. So we had a short chat about it, and we're on the same map or the same page, I think, on this one. So what's your perspective on problems and people wanting not to have any?
Well, you said it's unrealistic. And
I saw you smile on that one. See, I'm still learning. I'm still only the apprentice here.
According to whose reality?
Yes, indeed.
Well, my view of that is, many years ago, I remember I came across a little book. I think you might be able to find it. I don't know. I haven't looked for it, but it was like a little coffee table book. And I found it in the New Age section of a bookstore.
The woo-woo section?
The woo-woo section. Barnes and Nobles, actually, when that was, that was when we were still going to bookstores. So the title of that book was Life Wasn't Meant to Be a Struggle. And I saw that and I was like, oh my God, that's awesome. It just spoke to my heart. And of course it spoke to my heart because now I'm seeing for the first time that all the struggle is for no reason. So I have just been silly and I've been struggling where I don't need to struggle. And this little booklet was going to tell me how to not struggle in life. Not only that, but it was going to tell me that struggling is the worst scenario the worst mode that you can be into, because then you're not living, right? And this is the same thing that I get with other types of New Age approaches, such as you we're born to be happy, and such concepts that keep on recycling themselves within the inner tube of the new age channels. So life wasn't meant to be a struggle, right? So you will see that kind of concept a lot, as people love that kind of thing. You know, people love the idea of no struggle. Of course we do. We don't want to struggle because it sucks. Struggling sucks. But then having a firm understanding of the concept as above, so below, I understand that there's always where there's a microcosm, there's always a macrocosm of things and of laws. So struggling is happening for some reason. Then the new age approach is that this reason is our doing. Is like we are creating the struggle, and we're doing that because we're just misaligned, you see. I mean, which is actually partially true. But the idea here is that if you don't go to the gym, or if you don't engage in some kind of exercise, what will happen to you? Your body will decline. Your health will decline. But exercising is a struggle, isn't it? It's a pain in the ass. Nobody wants to do that. I mean, only a few people that have been utterly obsessed with the process of exercising because, their subconscious has seen very specific results that it loves, such as, oh, look at me, my body is so hot, or everybody wants me, or whatever. So, of course, being in that sort of thing can become an addiction now because you're going overboard. Now you need to see more of those results, and you keep on going to the gym. But most of the people, most of us mere mortals, don't feel like that about exercising. We have to actually do it because we're being disciplined. And if that discipline is not there, then we're not going to do it. And the reason why we're not going to do it is because it's a struggle. So then immediately we get something out of this predicament. This kind of struggle, this particular struggle, is producing results that are so important for us in our lives and in our health of the body and health of the mind. If we don't struggle in such a way, if we refuse to struggle in such a way, then we don't get these benefits. So then would it be, in a Socratic sense, would it be rational to extract that most other types of struggle are there to produce similar results?
Okay.
If that makes any sense. So then we go on to ask the question, why do we struggle? Because that's really the resume. This is really what the whole thing comes down to. Because if we're going to decide whether or not struggle is good, right, we have to first understand why we struggle in the first place.
Is it not like the issue of struggle in terms of the people that I would encounter, those people that would have a problem with it, is that they have this expectation, and this is where the realistic or unrealistic comes into play here, is that their expectation is that life should be without struggle, and that when something comes up to cause a struggle, a problem, a boulder in the road, whatever, that's going against them, that it shouldn't be there. And a lot of people react like that, like they get down on the ground, in a manner of speaking, and they, curl up in a ball and just want the thing to go away, as distinct from seeing it as any kind of real challenge or any kind of opportunity to grow. So there's a certain conditioning here that if I come up against a problem, and maybe it's to do with parenting, I don't know, but if there's a problem, that someone's going to take it away and I don't actually have to deal with it.
That's right.
So there's that kind of expectation. I think that's what creates this frustration that people have with problems when they appear, that it shouldn't be there and I just need to get past it as quickly as possible. So in the case of coming to me, it's tell me how to fix it. Tell me how to fix it. Give me the magic pill. Tell me how to fix it. As distinct from taking responsibility to actually work out how to deal with it.
Right, which is exactly, I was just going to mention that. This is filed under the category of taking responsibility for your life. And we've talked about why that's important, because you can either be responsible for your life or you can be a slave. You can be someone that lives a life that happens because of somebody else's initiative.
Yeah.
Rules, or, however you want to define that. But if we're here to be sovereign and free individuals, free spirits, free entities, free, however you want to define it, we have to understand that, first of all, there's got to be a reason within everyone's inner understanding. There's got to be a reason why they're here. This is the thing we call purpose, generally, right? Because everyone's got a purpose. So it occurs to me that the people who either don't believe that that's the case, or they don't know what the purpose is, they tend to be very annoyed at the obstacles that come in their way. Because you see, if you knew that you had a mission, and if you knew that that mission belonged in your own hero's journey, the obstacles would be there, of course, and your job would be to remove those obstacles in order to get to the next point. Yeah. You don't get pissed off, or at least I think you don't, when you play a video game and there's a level of hardship there that you have to overcome, right? Because that becomes an adventure, that becomes exciting. And, most people embrace that. But when it comes to their own lives, they think it sucks.
Yeah.
And I believe that that's because there's misplaced expectations there, and a misunderstood purpose, mission. People, I think, especially in today's world with so much distraction and so much noise, they don't know how to focus and orient themselves towards understanding what is their perspective, what is their mission, what is their own personal hero's journey. Because, again, most people have been very successfully convinced and indoctrinated into being very small and very insignificant. I mean, what could I ever do that would affect the world? Like, I'm so small, I'm nothing. So if I'm nothing, if I can't affect anything, then what do? Then I might as well have a good time. Right? Why am I having these obstacles, these problems that I'm facing are without a reason and without a reward. So why would I want to engage in solving them if I believe that they have nothing to do with the reason why I'm here?
Yeah, I get that. But I also think that start in the last maybe 30 years, I think there's been a shift as well in the way that people have been, that kids have been brought up. And there was a time when you were kind of thrown out and, told to come back in at 6 o'clock for your dinner. And what you did during the time that you were thrown out and you came back in at 6 o'clock could have been anything. You could have been up to all kinds of stuff, and you were basically finding your own way. Whereas there's a a generation now that are very cosseted, and as a result of that, the idea that they actually have to solve problems and create stuff for themselves is not something that they are used to doing. And I think it goes back to programming. It goes back to what we talked about before. If in the early stages you're taught that you don't have to solve any problems because your parents are going to solve them for you, then you don't have the capacity to do it. So everything should be on a plate, and if it's not on a plate, then that's a major problem for me. And people get very upset about it. They demand, it to be resolved. But it ultimately comes back to just not having the practice of solving problems. I think there's a in terms of speaking from my generation, the kind of issues that, even though I was the kind who was thrown out and told not to come back in until 6 o'clock and sort things out for myself, there's still, I certainly think that group would probably tick the box around what you just said. Not having a sense of purpose, having a sense of, if I do these things, if I go to school, then go to college, and then I go to, get a job and meet someone, get married, have kids. It's like, that was my life. And that's like my working title of the autobiography is I Knew Nothing Until I Was 40. And that was all on the basis that I thought I knew what the smoothest path to a great life was, which is to do everything really well. And if I do that, then everything will fall into place. And then some major life shit happens along the way, and I'm going, but I did the good stuff. So why is this bad stuff happening to me?
Oh, right. Well, let's go back to our very, very beloved subconscious, because it's all there. Everything's being regulated over there. So what is it that we're dealing with when it comes to that particular thing right here? What is the subconscious? The subconscious is a computer, as we talked about. We've talked about that several times. We talk about this in essence every single time, because that's what we're dealing with, right? This is why your mind is trying to kill you, because that's what the mind's job is. When I say the mind's job is, the subconscious mind's job. The subconscious mind is an engine. And every engine needs to be run to be able to fulfill its purpose, right? So if you
its purpose is survival,
whatever the purpose may be. Ultimately the deepest purpose, on the physical level, is survival. Yes.
Yeah.
But there's many things that sprout out of that kind of term. So, for example, if my job is to keep you alive, I have to do that in various ways. One, of course, is to warn you of any potential threats. Another way to do that is to guide you towards being able to handle situations in life in a way that you learn how to tackle more and more things. It becomes skillful. You get skills. So it is my job as the engine, being in control of you and responsible for your survival, to push you out there into situations that would make you stronger, more capable, and more skilled in dealing with all different potential aspects that could get you killed. And there's many of those out there, many different variables, especially in today's life. So What happens here is if this engine is not getting the training that it needs, if it's not allowed to run and produce this kind of situations for us to be able to take and use as valuable lessons, then it's going to run amok. Because if it's its job to regulate these sort of things with the wrong kind of instruction, which is the programs that we've been talking about, with the wrong kind of programming, your subconscious mind is going to just create problems out of nowhere, because that's its job. Its job is to bring up obstacles that will help us learn. So
Okay, I never. The way I had framed it was that the subconscious mind is, let's say, passive in the sense that you encounter these experiences, and then based on what you learn from them, that then is recorded essentially on the hard drive of the subconscious mind, and it's how have I dealt with that, and that effectively is my programming, my training for the next time. I wasn't clued into the idea that the subconscious is actually going out trying to find things to help train you.
of course it does, because the subconscious is not this idle thing. As a matter of fact, it's the first thing that gets involved, in that thing we call life. The subconscious is alive and well and functioning perfectly before we even get out of our mother's bellies.
Well, it's running all the internals, isn't it?
It's running the internals, but it's also running the consciousness, the awareness.
Yeah.
That's why so many people have memories that in many ways are traumatic, that have to do with being in their mother's bellies and sensing any conflict
Right.
around, like mom being nervous or fearful or being abused or arguments. All this stuff gets recorded, right? And the subconscious already is being instructed based on all that stuff. So it is out there to help you make the best out of this journey. This is your inner computer, and that computer needs the best kind of programming in order to go out there and get the job done, whatever that job is. But most people in this society haven't been convinced that there is no job. There's no job. We're here to just survive, working this stupid job, and then, raise a family, and then go on vacation for 2 weeks a year, and, every time there's holidays, you do your barbecues, and you shoot your guns, and you celebrate, and you drink, and you have sex, and you go, trip, or you get a high, whatever. And this is the course of a lifetime, which is on autopilot 100%. This is a life that runs free of purpose. So,
my question, I suppose, is then, how does the subconscious, if its purpose is to try and create these situations to, put us into difficult scenarios in order for us to learn, how does the subconscious allow that to happen, whereby we think that it's all about just, having a good time, basically?
Well, everything that happens in our life instructs the subconscious, just like we said, right? Now, the subconscious is not independent of the rest of us. So you get an idea about something, and that idea, I can't convince you. I can't convince your subconscious. I can hypnotize you into believing that your purpose here is nothing, it's shit. Let's just have a good time. Because it's just party. Right? We're here to party. I mean, this is a perspective that is being shared a lot within, from what I understand, within the civilized world. The Western approach is that, F it, we're here to just party, have a good time,
Yeah,
light a sword, have a beer, this.
and it's been promoted by
Right.
the media and entertainment industry that's what it's all about.
Exactly. So again, going back to our indoctrination here. So we're being indoctrinated to believe we have no purpose, because if
Mm.
we if you get a hold of your purpose, if someone told you that you were an angel that decided to come here and incarnate in order to fight in the grand battle, right, against, I don't know, the evil forces of this world. If you knew that, right, how could you ever be like, oh, screw it, I'm just going to go have a beer with the guys? No, you wouldn't do that. You would be more and more, that programming would really enhance you daily with the skills, the understanding, the awareness, and the consciousness that you need in order to keep on creating a more robust approach and weapons of all kinds, inward and outward, in order to be able to efficiently deliver on your mission. But if I make you believe that that mission is bullshit, there's no mission. Come on. Why, like, if for anyone there's this little part of the movie The Last Temptation of Christ, which I love, is based on Nikos Kazantzakis' novel, brilliant beyond brilliance, where it re-examines the approach between what we call divine, what we call evil, what we call good, and how it conflicts with our human nature. So what really happens here in there, at some point, it shows Jesus being, when he went up to Mount Olive or whatever it is, he went and was praying, or in the desert, when you were in the desert, right? 40 days or something. I don't remember all the exact details, but he's in the desert. And then as he's going through his thing, his meditation, his whatever, his prayer, the devil shows up, right? And the devil is this beautiful, stunning woman who says to him, in a very rational and logical statement, why are you trying to save the world? Aren't your own sins enough for you? What arrogance to think you can save the world. The world doesn't need to be saved. Save yourself. Right? Now, think of how brilliant this statement is, and how brilliantly put together by the devil's avatar, because that's what the devil represents. You see, the devil, or diabolos, as you call it in Greek, diabolos comes from the verb diavalo, which means to slander. The devil is a master of communicating truths and untruths that sound like perfect truths. So a master manipulator reminds you of something that we get to experience day in and day out in our everyday lives, such as the media, for example. So it is very easy to get indoctrinated to believe that not only do you not have a purpose here, jackass, like, how dare you think, who do you think you are? Right? Well, who do you think you are to say, yeah, I came here with a purpose? Of course, let's roll the red carpet here, Your Majesty. Right? So who do you think? So in other words, going back to being selfish, we talked about that last week. So here, we're dealing with the same kind of approach. Not only do you not have a purpose, but you are an arrogant asshole if you think you have a purpose. Like, what arrogance to think you can save the world, right? Who are you? It's not even stupid, but it's also arrogant, because that would entail that you are of importance. That would entail that you have power. And who in this world, amongst the people that run things, want you to have a firm understanding of the fact that you're powerful, or the fact that you have a mission?
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much borne out by, Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Mandela, all these people who obviously stepped forward, clearly stating that they had a purpose. They were threatening the system. They were threatening the control over the masses. So they had to be silenced in whatever way they needed to be silenced. But what I'm curious about is how does the issue of having a purpose, like, I know that if you have a purpose and you understand it, that when problems arise, they're just stones in the road, things to be got around. But I think I'm getting from you that problems are a reminder to us that life is not supposed to be without purpose. That the struggles, that every time a problem is put in front of us, that it's a test to see how we deal with it, how we learn from it. And in that learning and dealing with it, we actually become closer to who we really are, which is that angel with the purpose.
That's correct. So, yes, I believe, and when I say believe, I have formed this belief based on experiences that I've had through working with myself and working with other people throughout the years, and seeing these things over and over again come up in various forms. So the struggle, the problems, as far as I'm concerned, are a reminder that we're not here to chill. This isn't a perpetual holiday. Now, not to say that if you choose to make it that, you're a horrible human being. No, of course not. But who are you being in light of your essence, like who you really are? Because you mentioned who you really are is your spirit, is that flame that takes over your being and animates it, right? This animating force. You want to call it source or God or whatever it is, that something animates this. And that's something that animates it has a reason. All this stuff. I mean, once again, you can believe that you're here, it's an accident, like a lizard or, an amoeba. And if you believe that, then your life will have a very specific course. Because according to this kind of belief, you get to walk a certain path. Because that path, that belief affects the path. So if I believe that this is, it's bullshit, this whole thing is, I'm here to just have a good time, then why would I care about, let's say, why do I care about the planet? I mean, this is a short life, right? I come here, then boop, I'm out of here and I'm going somewhere else for all eternity. Why do I give a shit about the planet? Right? I mean, it doesn't make sense. Or why do I care about my neighbor? Why do I care about my friends, strangers out there? Why would I care? Why would I go and risk my life to protect or help somebody else? If this is as it is, we're just animals. So if we're just animals, we're just, we do that thing. We have a tribe, we have a hierarchy. We procreate, we eat, we poop, and we die. And there are a lot of people, I believe, that are actually on that mode of living. But that mode, if we're talking about being empowered here, and that's primarily what this program is about, you will never find empowerment in this kind of approach. Okay, in the same sense that you could look at an Olympic athlete who's whether or not they have won medals, it's regardless. What they do, the course of their lives is defined by something that gives them a purpose. And that purpose becomes so important that nothing else, like your friends who come over, you are training for the Olympics, your friends come over, hey, let's go party. Yeah, forget about that training bullshit. Come on, man. It's short life. Short. Let's do it. Yeah, forget about it. Why? What's the whole point? Right? So if you don't have a purpose, then you're just cruising by. And I think that the people who either don't believe they have a purpose or the people that don't have a purpose, I think everyone has a purpose. But if you don't believe you have a purpose, you're not actually just harming yourself, but you're harming everyone else around you. Because you are depriving them from the best you, number one. And number two, your level of asshole leaks, of course, energetically into your environment. So we need that purpose, and we need to get that higher understanding. And I can't define what that is for everyone, but the idea here is that the problems are coming to remind you that you are not here to chill and just that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the chilling part, but when that starts prevailing in your life, then you're crooked. Something has happened that has shifted you off your axis. So it's time to realign.
As well, the other thing is that even though we might have the belief that it should be chill all the way through and no problems and all of that, the fact is that we can't get away from the problems. And as Mark Manson says in The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, he says you can choose, you're going to have problems, and it's a question of which kind of problems you choose to have. Are they the problems that someone who decides that they're going to travel around the world, or someone who takes that decision and they have a problem because their flight gets cancelled somewhere and they have to find another way of getting to where they want to go? That's one kind of problem. But if you say, I'm not going to do anything, I'm just going to, chill and let it happen, you'll probably eat too much, drink too much, and you'll develop heart problems, or whatever, from being sedentary. And by not having any kind of purpose, the problem's still going to be there. And his point is, if you choose to have a life of purpose, if you choose to take on your problems, that's a decent life. That's a well-lived life, as distinct from one where you just let it all happen to you, because the problems are going to happen anyway.
That's right. And the problems are going to happen anyway because your subconscious will generate them regardless. So you either give your subconscious, once again, it's a child that has magic. So assuming that you have a magician within you, okay, do you give that magician a job?
Yeah.
Do you give that magician a job to do? Or is that magician sitting there thinking, oh, what do we do today? I need something to entertain myself with. So I'm just going to create some shit here and there. So, you know what I mean? So that magician needs work. It needs to be occupied, it needs to be properly employed. And if you don't give that magician worthwhile tasks, it will come up with bullshit tasks. And it will be throwing your life around and creating havoc, just as a demon would do, instead of helping you resolve critical issues that are holding you back from embracing the next step, the next part of your journey into your mission, your hero's journey.
So do you think that, I mean, what's just come to me there is, do you think that the subconscious is, when it sees that you're moving forward and you're facing problems and challenges and you're working through them and, pressing on clearly with some sense of purpose, whether it's the higher purpose or not, but certainly you're moving forward, that when you don't do that, do you think the subconscious is just making mischief, or do you think it's saying, hang on a minute, you got a purpose here and you need to start looking for it? And unless you do, then it's almost like you're not living the full life. And my job here is to help you get to the place where you're living a full life. So yes, it might seem mischievous, but actually I'm reminding you to start looking for the purpose. I'm reminding you to start to get into problem solving mode, because that's what you're supposed to be doing. I'm here to remind you.
Right. That's a very good question. And I'd say yes and yes. You are right in both options here. And it all depends which one's going to be. It depends on your own personal level of awareness. So to give an example, if you have walked your life being guided by that spirit, because some people get the calling, where you need to embrace, the shamanic path, or, a magical path, or anything that actually will show you what it means to be intimately involved in the mysteries of the world, or the mysteries of the universe, which is something that has moved me always since I was a kid. Well, most people don't get that. And if you don't have that inclination, so you keep moving ahead without training. Like if you don't hear that voice, then that voice becomes fainter and fainter. And as it gets snuffed, then the subconscious is, it's giving up on trying to do that, gets the understanding that you don't give a shit about that. So it just decides to entertain itself rather than helping you resolve the issues that is here to help you resolve. So if you walk on that path, then it will be there to remind you, hey, you're supposed to be doing this. You're supposed to be doing that. You're supposed to be enhancing your life. You're supposed to be moving ahead. But if you are the kind of person that has been convinced and convincing your subconscious that this whole life is just whatever, a ride, and I'm just gonna just go ahead and live it as it comes, then the subconscious will create mischief, as you said. Just like a child that is bored, right? You have a child in the house, not paying attention to the child. The child doesn't have anybody to play with, right? There's no worthy challenges for the child. What's the child going to start doing? Mischief. He's going to start looking into the drawers. Whoa, what's that? Daddy's gun, or whatever. What does that stove do? This sort of thing. So it needs to be beautifully and constructively occupied.
Right.
And
when people have experiences which I mean, you often see it with people who they're diagnosed with cancer, or they have a near-death experience because of a heart attack or an accident or something like that. And afterwards, if they survive it, you'll often hear them say, I changed my life as a result of this. And it's almost like it was the best thing that could have happened to me, this cancer or whatever. Firstly, is the incident, is the illness likely to be connected to the subconscious in that respect, that potentially it's making mischief? And is the response to it by some people, it's not by everyone, almost like a recognition that my life does have a purpose. The light bulb has come on, and I've suddenly started to see things that I didn't see before, and I'm starting to behave in a way that I didn't behave before. I'm suddenly appreciative for what I have and for living the life to the full for however long I have now. Is that dynamic part of the subconscious bringing you back to find your purpose when you may have been off track?
Yeah, I believe so. Absolutely. Because this is like having problems, right? This is only a bigger problem.
Yeah.
Getting a disease is usually, in my opinion, one of the clearer examples that your spirit is trying to wake you up. Or either that, or your spirit has determined that nothing will wake you up, and so it decides to check out.
Right.
Because it feels that any more of that shenanigans will harm who you really are, your true essence. And so it puts a brake to that and goes for a reload, it goes for a reboot, hoping that next time, based on better instruction, you will not repeat that same mistakes. And isn't that the concept of reincarnation, what it's all about? Right? That you're supposed to be doing this, that, and the concept of karma, which is actually very interesting and prevailing in, again, the worlds of New Age wisdom, especially. So the karmic understanding here is that if you do something shitty, the universe will pay you back, right? And that's what. So then be a good person if you want good things to happen to you. Now, there's so much wrong with that kind of approach that I can't even begin to illustrate. But think of it this way: if I knew that there's a parent of some sort out there that's going to punish me if I do something shitty, and that's the reason why I don't do it, am I evolving at all? I mean, even in a police state, if I don't come and punch you in the face because I'm afraid I'm going to get jail time, but I want it so badly, does this change anything? I mean, it's the same, right? So is that karma? Is it karmic? Is there a karmic repercussion of not doing something out of fear? This is my approach and my understanding of karma is whatever you attach yourself to is something that usually you drag with you, comes along with you.
Right.
So it's a matter of attachment. I don't believe that the universe gives a shit about punishing you, because I mean that doesn't even make sense anyway. If you don't even know why you're being punished, then how is that even valid? Right? I mean, because let's say you did something horrible in your past life, and now someone beats the shit out of you day in and day out, but you don't know that. So if you don't know that, how is that helping you? Realize that, that's why this happened, because I was an asshole before. But if there's nothing, and on top of that, if you get punishment, I mean, what we all know as above, so below. Remember, we all know what happens to the people who get incarcerated because of their mistakes. How many of them come out better people?
Yeah.
Right?
Very few.
If anyone at all. I mean, unless it's like Nelson Mandela.
Mm.
But, usually that tactic doesn't. And of course, the people who go out there and come out changed positively are the people who find that light within them
Yeah.
because of the circumstance, because they have the ability to now pause for 5 minutes or 5 years and realize, oh my God, what have I been doing with my life? Who am I? Right? But most people who go out there to be punished for what they did, they either become more pissed off and more resentful, come out there worse off. And of course, whatever you acquire in there is another issue. But you come out more distrustful to yourself and to your fellow human beings, or you come out utterly afraid, terrified of being anyone out there, and you go and you lock yourself into another cell, your mind cell, however you want to define it, and then you become, oh, I'm not going to be a good boy or a good girl because I don't like that game. I can't have that happen to me again. So I will just do what you tell me. So
it was a bit like Brooks in Shawshank, where he couldn't cope with having been let out.
Exactly. That's exactly what it's like. So we deal with the concept of karma in different ways. And I don't believe that kind of way makes any sense at all. Karma is not punishment for what you've done in the past, because it wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't. And who's doing the punishment anyway? I mean, then we have to once again embrace the concept that there is this parent figure there that sits and judges. Sits on the throne. It's like, what did you do? You're not supposed to do that. So, but then there's many religious connotations there, and I never want to get into that kind of discussion.
No.
The idea here is that it is up to you to believe what you're here to be. It is up to you to get that inspiration if you ask for that inspiration. Because most people don't ask because they've been complacent in being told that their purpose is just whatever. Yeah, whatever. There's no mission. This is just we just come here to
Yeah, or the issue of there being a purpose isn't even discussed. It's not even, because of all the conditioning and because of all the messaging. It's that aspect of things just never gets discussed. It's just all this, I suppose, hedonistic thing. Just keep it.
Yes.
Keep doing all this stuff, and you'll get into the Big Brother house, or you'll win X Factor, or all this kind of stuff. That all good stuff happening in your life, and that's all you want, and that's all we're here for. And anything about real purpose is put to one side.
That's right.
But I'm just looking at the clock, and we've managed to do it again. And I just wanted to ask you, if you take what we've discussed, and even what we started with is where people have a problem with having problems, and they believe that they shouldn't have any, and that's the best and easiest life to live. How would you, as a guide or as a message to people who would say that, and what people listening to this might take from it, is how should we approach problems, life, purpose? How should we just string all that together as a final message?
Well, first, if you want to know why you have the problems that you have, ask yourself what you're doing here on this plane. That's the first thing I do. What am I doing here? Why am I here? And to give an example, if I have, if I'm complaining because I stepped on a thorn or something, and as I'm walking barefoot in the woods, and I sit there and like, oh God damn, why is that always happening to me? Why, right? Why I don't? Why it's not fair? And that is the prevailing thought of a person who's not going somewhere in a hurry, right? What do I mean by that? If my mission is to go through the woods to some kind of abandoned bunker that has little kids in there imprisoned, and my mission is to go there and free them, you tell me how many thorns I would give a shit about stepping on. Because the bigger your mission, the bigger you are, the bigger the problem. Right? The only problem, the problem that comes up is going to be big if the mission that you are on is big.
Yeah.
And everything else is an annoyance, right? And so I would prefer to be dealing with problems that make me reconsider and rethink things in the deepest possible way on a daily basis, by asking, why is this happening to me? What am I supposed to learn from this?
Yeah.
You ask that question, and then you allow it to present you with an answer. And it always does, if you're paying attention, one way or the other.
So even if you don't have that purpose or a sense of it, if you approach whatever problem you're facing at the moment with, why is this happening? And what have I got to learn from it? The more you do that, the more you're likely to overcome the problem, but also you're more likely to get in touch with that purpose.
Yes, absolutely.
You're more likely to get in touch with your higher self.
Right. And once again, remember about wasting energy. The game is all about energy here. The game is all about saving, conserving energy, and producing more energy. Now, the more we get caught up in drama, the more we waste energy, and that's why drama it's a vicious cycle that happens because the subconscious mind, revels in bullshit too. Once again, if it doesn't have anything to do, it will take you on an endless journey of thinking and what is the second guessing yourself all the time.
Yeah.
So you need to realign yourself with a new idea of who you are. As far as I'm concerned, this is what I do all day long. And every problem that comes in between me and that purpose is a problem that I'm happily engaging with in order to eradicate it, because it's like I get credits, right? It's like in the video game. The more you deal with that problem, the more successfully you deal with the problem. Now, the more skilled you are to face your next challenge. Because once again, neuro-linguistic programming, problem versus challenge.
Yeah.
Right? There's a huge difference between those two. A problem is there to make you suffer. A challenge is there to make you grow. And I think that's a pretty clear way to define how I feel about it.
And that's a good way to finish. I think we've given some gold nuggets there today.
Hopefully, my friend.
Yeah, I think so. So, in wrapping up,
until next week,
let's be careful out there.
And don't let your mind kill you.
Thanks for listening to Your Mind is Trying to Kill You with Alexandros Megas and Vincent Byrne. If you like our show and want to make sure that you don't miss an episode, then we would love if you would subscribe on Apple Podcasts or on whatever platform you're listening to us on. And you'd be doing us a big favor if you would support us by leaving a review as well. It would also be great if you would take a screenshot of this episode on your smartphone and share it on social media. So join us next Wednesday when we talk more about mind hacking and taking back control of your life. Until then, have a great week.